Om Shanti 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 Ashushishano Vrishavo Nayimo Gana Gana Shobhanascharshanina Sankandano Nimitahe Kavira Sena Ajayatsakamindra Sankrandanena Nimishena Jishnuna Yutkarena Duschavaneena Trishnuna Tarindrena Dayata Tatsahadvan Yudho Nara Isho Hastena Vrishna Saisho Hastaye Sanishanga Virvashi Saggasrashta Sayudha Indra Ganena Sagam Srashtadit Soma Baba Hushadyo Orthadanva Pratihita Virasta Brihaspate Paridiya Rathena Rakshoha Mitragum Avavathamanaha.
Welcome all. I am Balu Iyer, Chairman of Hindu Society, Minnesota. It is my honor and privilege to welcome Nobel Laureate Kailash Satyarthi from India to our Hindu temple in Maple Grove. I am humbled and proud that he is in our midst today. And again, on behalf of all of you and the Hindu Society of Minnesota, I extend our very warm welcome to Nobel Laureate Kailash Satyarthi.
Today is the time for every child to have the right to life. I refuse to accept that the shackles of slavery can ever be more stronger than the quest for freedom. I refuse to accept here.
Getting a greeting like this is all the reward Kailash Satyarthi needs for freeing these children from a life of slavery. He tries to give these kids the childhood they missed.
Do you think these kids see you as a Nobel Peace Prize winner?
Oh, I don't think they see me as friend or brother or something like father. I have looked into their frightened and exhausted eyes. I've held their injured bodies and I have felt their broken spirits. I refuse to accept that children belonging to certain sections of society are bound to work for others at the cost of their childhood and freedom and education. If the children are exploited, if the children are deprived from their childhood in any part of the world cannot live in peace. The world cannot be human.
It's not often the two winners of the Nobel Peace Prize get together, but it happened yesterday when President Obama met Kailash Satyarthi. They were joined by 3 children who were rescued from child trafficking and forced marriage.
You cannot live in isolation. All the problems and solutions are interconnected. And so the problem of child labor in any part of the world is your problem.
Satyarthi organizes raids with local police, but sometimes employers are tipped off and waiting for him armed.
I have been attacked many times in my life.
You had a gun to your head.
But that's why I'm here.
This is dangerous work for these kids.
Somebody has to pay the cost of freedom. It does not come on plate. So if no one will, who else will do? Who will not right?
Who won the Nobel Prize, he asks. Their reply, all of us kids.
Every single minute matters. Every single child matters. Every single childhood matters.
Namaste friends. When Vijayendra Agarwalji of Vidyagyan presented the prospect of bringing the Nobel Laureate Mr. Kailash Satyarthi to the Hindu temple, the community was ecstatic and also emphatic that they would like to listen more to Kailash ji speaking and less of others talking. The one story that stuck to me is at a very young age, Kailash ji was very deeply disturbed when he saw a small boy working with his cobbler father, shining the shoes at the school gate. it did not take much time for Mr. Satyarthi ji to understand stark contrast between his life and that of the life of the cobbler's son. Since then, he has been a tireless advocate of children's rights, and the grassroots movement that he founded, Bachpan Bachao Andolan, have liberated more than 84,000 children from exploitation. Without further ado, dear friends, please join us in welcoming a man with noble mission and a great vision, the pride of India, Nobel Laureate Kailash Satyarthi ji. Please welcome.
My dear children, respected Baluji, dear sisters and brothers. When I was entering here in the temple, somebody said that we are so delighted to have you here. And I replied spontaneously that it's always good to be at home. So I'm here at home. So not only at home with the Indian community, but being very, very special to be in the temple. Two Panditjis were chanting Swasti Vachan. And Swasti Vachan, the entire Swasti Vachan mantras, the set of mantras, which teaches to look good, to be good, to look the world with a noble eye, because the world is so beautiful. For the well-being of ourselves and for the well-being of the world and the well-being of universe, in fact, the Swasti Vachan is the essence. And slowly there was a tune, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Supalam Malaya Sitalam. It brings so much joy thousands of miles away from my home. And that's why right at the beginning I said that I'm at home. So don't consider me as a special guest. When the Nobel Peace Prize was announced on 10th of October 2014, I was doing some work on my computer sitting at my desk. And in fact, I had a plan to visit to Germany, so I was Googling the cheapest possible tickets. So what you call the cheapticket.com or things like that, yatra.com, make my trip. So looking for the cheapest possible tickets. And suddenly a journalist called up. He was so excited, Indian journalist. And he said, Kailash ji, Nobel Prize. So I thought that somebody might have got the Nobel Prize somewhere in the world. It's unbelievable that it is coming for an Indian. So I thought that it could be for someone. And he is asking for a simple reaction from me, some sort of comment from me. And I felt myself stupid that I did not know who got the Nobel Peace Prize and I had no idea about it. And I had no idea that it was the day when the Nobel Peace Prize are normally announced. So I just changed my window and started Googling Nobel Peace Prize 2014. And it did not appear, actually. It took a few seconds because the journalist must be watching online and Google registered it after a few seconds. So, within no time, many of my friends and colleagues working in the office, they just poured into my room. They were hugging and kissing and crying. So, I could understand that something happened here in this room. But the biggest problem was for the journalists. So the journalists started coming in, 1, 2, 10, 1500, 200, 500. The whole road was blocked. I live in Delhi, in Kalkaji, South Delhi area. So the police was called because police could not understand why so many OB vans and journalist cars are coming in, traffic jam. So journalists thought that Kailash Satyarthi, they didn't know much about this. Some of them knew about me, but most of the foreign journalists had never seen my face or photo anywhere. And they had no time to Google my photo and my biography before coming to my office. So they thought that any old person who is most excited, the most emotional, most joyful after getting the Nobel Prize should be Kailash Satyarthi. So except me, everybody was so joyous and so emotional, they started taking picture of every old person. And I was jealous. And they could never imagine that the person who got the Nobel Prize is still so cool and not jumping or not laughing or not doing anything. So after a minute or two, they were diverted to me, and then the rest is history. But that day, many international and national journalists asked with curiosity that how do you feel being the first Hindu in the Nobel history to get the Nobel Peace Prize? And what do you feel of being the first Indian, Desi, Indian-born Indian, to get the Nobel Peace Prize? I said that I was taught in my culture, in my religion, that the entire world is my family. The whole world is mine, and I belong to the whole world. But even then I feel very, very proud Indian. And I said that India is a known land of hundreds of problems: poverty, corruption, dowry, deaths, gender discrimination, rapes, all kinds of things. Child labor, slavery, caste system, the communal tensions. It's true that India is the land of 100 problems, but my nation, my country, my motherland is the mother of 1 billion solutions. And when I come to, not after Nobel Prize, but also before that, I've been traveling a lot and working in over 100 countries on the issue of slavery and for education of children. And in several places, I had an opportunity to meet and visit the Indian community. And I feel so proud. हमारे यहाँ बहुत साल पहले अल्लामा इकबाल ने लिखा कि कोई बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी. There's something very special in Indians and Indian soil. एक बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौरे जहां हमारा. Something is very special in our culture, in our society that we are not completely demolished. Our culture is not demolished. In spite of, for hundreds of years, for centuries, we have been enslaved and we were treated like enemies, but we still exist. And we exist with all the spark and brightness and flavor and power. You, my dear sisters, my dear brothers, not only carry that value, you are the ambassadors. The entire America learn about India through you. Your relationship with each other, your relationship with other religions and other nationalities, your love, your compassion, your hard work, your honesty, your resilience, all those qualities which you carry from your ancestors, from your culture, are still prevalent here, and that makes me proud. Thank you for that. The world is facing so many problems today, right from the global warming to global terrorism, unemployment, inequalities, sometimes economic recessions, so many things. And somehow the world started realizing that these problems cannot be seen and solved in isolation. No country can claim that she has the power to solve the problem of global warming or growing terrorism, conflict. We have to sit together and find solutions to it. It is under pressure, it is under compulsion that the world started thinking that the world is interconnected, our problems and our solutions are interconnected, and we have to work together. But whatever rishis taught, time immortal, our rishis, the masters of wisdom and intellect, they taught us, Sangachadvam samvadadvam sambo manansi janatam deva bhagam yatha purve sanjananam upasate. Let's create a society where all of us can talk together in one tongue, the language of love, the language of humanity. Let us walk together, let us march together. No one is left behind. No one is left separated. We have to create a level playing field where everybody can walk on one ground, walk together hand in hand. That togetherness is a value which has been taught thousands of years ago in Vedas. But before coming to some of my work, I feel tempted to say that the Hinduism, as we know, is not a religion in itself. It has been interpreted in several ways, and there were several definitions. Some good definition that it is a way of life. Somebody says that it is an ongoing culture. It's like river Ganges, it flows, and Hinduism flows like that. It is not stagnated water. So, but there are universal values which later on were termed as Hinduism, the Sanatan, or universal values and beliefs. So I feel that we have 4 strong pillars where we stand And that's why we are very special. Unfortunately, we are forgetting it slowly. They are fading away in our personal, social, national lives. But still the DNA is there. I'm talking about the DNA of 4 things. One is immortality, eternity. The entire philosophy is based on immortality. We are taught that we are never born, so we will never die. In Gita, Krishna says, Vasansi jeernani yatha vihaya, navani grahati naro parani, tatha shariraya vihaya jeerna, nanyati navani dehi. We keep on changing our body. It even says that nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavaka na chainam kledayanta na shoshayati maruta. We are immortal. Our souls are immortal. Our bodies will die, but the matter will not die. The energy will never die. The world has discovered in a later stage that the matter will never vanish, never die, neither the energy. And so is our soul. So that is immortality. And that makes us to think and work beyond the time. Of course, sometimes it makes us lazy. We don't care of time because time is endless. But it has a great value, philosophical value. The second strong pillar is the value of global familyhood. The Veda says, Ayam nijah paroveti ganana laguchet sham udar charitanam tu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. This is mine and that is yours. Is the feeling of mean-mindedness, narrow-heartedness. Those who are liberal by heart, the entire world is a family, is a larger family. So wherever you live, you are the part of family. And that's why you can easily bring the talent, the values, the wisdom, and even the prosperity to this part of the land. I was in Taikon recently, this annual conference of the IT leaders from Asia, not only from India, but mainly from India, that was held in Stanford, in Silicon Valley. And I was so amazed to meet and talk to some of the young Indians who have set up their companies, who are not just bringing prosperity to India, but also prosperity to this country and to the whole world. So that is the global family who was there to know. The third thing is eternal peace, undivided peace, universal peace. After every ritual, when we perform yajna, when we go for wedding ceremonies, when we do anything, Shanti part is the part of our culture. We say Dyav Shanti, Antarikshagum Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Dyava Shanti. We talk of peace and balance in all dimensions and all parts of the universe. May it be the space, may it be the land, earth, may it be water, ocean, may it be air, even the jungles, the mountains. We believe in the peace. Now we are talking about the global sustainability. The sustainability of earth, sustainability of planet, sustainability of society. These are the vital discussions now in the global scenario, in the political as well as in the social discourses. But we are the people. For thousands of years ago, we believed in the integrity of the peace between the nature and human beings. That was our value. And the fourth pillar where we stand upon is mukti, emancipation, total emancipation. The purpose of life to reach to the goal of emancipation where we are captured of wants and greeds and needs. The entire yoga exercises, it is not only the physical exercises, the yoga is a composite philosophy to practice, and that's the last stage of yoga, when you reach to a situation of total balance, samadhi. And that is, samadhi does not mean that, because we don't believe in that. Emancipation, liberation. But dear friends, a society which has taught the value of liberty thousands of years ago is not free. Our minds are not free. Our bodies are not free. Our economies are not free. Our societies are not free. We have created visually small selves and set ourselves into it for our own protection. We have created the circles of selfishness and greediness, and we feel that we are protected inside them. We cover up getting into it. When you make something for yourself, it means you are separating away from the rest of humankind. When you get into the smaller circles of caste, or organized religions, or gender mindset, or social stature, economic stature, means you are disconnected from others, and the disconnection is the driver of insecurity and fear. When you are connected with each other, then you are not insecure. But when you separate you out, being that you are very special, then you are afraid of something. So these are very fundamental things I wanted to bring it here. I'm not a priest. I'm not a leader. I'm one of you as, not even one of you. You have much more power than me if you just take the noble tag out. Then I'm very humble and ordinary citizen. But several years ago, I realized that in spite of all the great philosophy and all the great work of our leaders who fought for India's freedom from Britain, India is not still free. If millions of children are bought and sold like animals, and sometimes in lesser prices than the animals, would you call yourself free? If our children are trapped into mining, the children are making shoes and apparels, they are polishing diamonds, cutting and polishing diamonds. They are working in street restaurants, they are making bricks, they are stitching footballs. At what cost? At the cost of the most precious thing, and that is childhood. At the cost of divine gift, and that is freedom. The freedom is unrestricted. Freedom is divine gift. God has made us free with certain purpose, but we forget it. When I gave up my career as an electrical engineer in 1981, I was teaching in the university. It was a big shock for everyone in my family and among my friends. India did not have too many trained electrical engineers in late 70s or 1980. There was huge demand from the government for the government jobs and for private jobs, and even many of my friends decided to leave the country for a better fortune to United States or to London or other places. But right from my own childhood, I was passionate for the cause of children because I realized that we have double standards in society. Every time, every year, I saw that my mother, my sister-in-laws, they used to celebrate different festivals. One was Navratri. So during Navratri, the girls are brought, girls from the neighborhood are worshipped like goddesses. They were given best food and some gift or some fruits or sweets. And we were asked to touch their feet. And we believe that we are the land of worship for women, for children, for girls especially. We worship Goddess Lakshmi. There is no God Lakshmi, there is Goddess Lakshmi. The goddess of wealth. Wealth is worshipped as a woman, Devi, deity. So is the case of Saraswati, the goddess of Vishnu, knowledge. And not even that. Men feel that they are so muscular against women. But who is the goddess of power? This is Chandi, that is Durga. So all these three powers of the world, the power of wealth, the power of knowledge, the power of strength, are worshipped as girls, as women. But our girls are not safe. Even now, I'm talking about 36 years ago, even now, in Delhi, in Mumbai, in big places, our daughters, our sisters are not safe. I decided to give up my career. My mother, who was a widow, and I don't belong to a rich family. I was born in a modest family and studied in a government municipal school until unless I got my scholarship for higher studies in engineering. So my mother had to spend a lot of energy and time, and my widow mother had to sell her ornament for my higher studies. She was in tears. She cried for months when I gave up my lucrative career. She knew that it's a dangerous thing. She warned me that why are you working or talking on some issue which was not talked about. It was the time when child labor, child slavery, the exploitation of girls were non-issues. India did not have any law against child labor until 1986. Forget about India. There was no international concept which has been properly adopted by the international community until 1990. When the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, UNCRC, has been adopted in 1990, the world woke up that, oh, children do have their rights and we have to adhere to it, we have to respect the rights of children. But in 1981 when I started, it was a big challenge. The biggest challenge was to convince my own people, convince my own countrymen that look, this is not simply poverty. This is the denial of human dignity and human freedom. And freedom is non-negotiable. It is divine, as I said. I recall when I came to Delhi, I married to Sumedaji, who is here. She was the only one who trusted in my craziness. We had no money to start. Some of my friends donated some money so that we can start up. It was not a startup company. It was the starting of something very, very new, which nobody knows. And I didn't know even how to move forward. Because nobody was working on this issue in India or anywhere in the world in the contemporary times. People thought that slavery has been abolished 100 years ago, and we were observing the abolition of slavery day. So we started with a magazine called Sangharsh Jari Rahega, Struggle Shall Continue. And one day, a desperate father knocked my door. His name was Basal Khan. So he was carrying an old copy of my magazine and he asked whether he is at the right place. I said, yes, please come in. But he was so tired and hungry, he just fallen on my feet and got unconscious. I put some water on his face and brought him in. And I started talking to him. And I was shocked when he said that 17 years ago, he and his newly married wife and a few more couples were lured away from his native village that was in Aligarh district of Uttar Pradesh to work at a brick kiln in Punjab near Sarhind. And during those 17 years, they were not allowed to leave that premises. They were not paid anything. They were forced to work day in and day out. All children were born and grew up there. And the eldest one was 15-year-old Sabo. So one day, Sabo's mother noticed that there were some unknown people came to the kiln side and they were negotiating the price of the girl with the master. They were brothel agents who wanted to buy this virgin girl. And this man was asking to give more money because of this specialty. So, mother overheard it and told her husband. You can imagine what had gone to the father. Many of us are mothers. Many of your fathers, sisters or brothers. They had no idea. So sometime in the middle of night, the father jumped into a truck, big loaded truck, without knowing where the truck was going to. Somehow the truck reached in Chandigarh. The man was knocking the door for help. And then somehow he came across a person who was a subscriber of my magazine and suggested him to go to Kailash. With this objective that I am going to publish his story. Dear sisters, when I was writing this story, I forgot to continue and I left my pen. And I started thinking, if she was my daughter, what would I do? She was my sister, what would I do? I'm not going to sit for a minute. I will hold the whole world upside down. I will do every possible thing to rescue her. And I was determined to do so. I asked my wife that if you have some ornament, we are going to sell it, so that we can hire some truck, lorry, and go to rescue all those people. I cannot wait. I spoke to some of my friends and 6 of us reached there, including Basal Khan. We could not free them. We were beaten up. We were thrown from there. We had to come empty hands. Basal Khan was caught. But I did not come back with empty heart. I decided to do something else. I never believed in giving up. Because I always believed that the solution of every problem, whatever complex it is, whatever difficult it is, the solution lies in the womb of the problem itself. So I went to the court with the help of some lawyers, and with the help of court we have been able, court had ordered, so 36 children, women and men were produced before the High Court of Delhi, and all of them were set free. And dear friends, I've taken much of your time, but let me tell you that when I brought those young children, including 15-year-old Sadhu, from the High Court of Delhi to my office, I felt that these children are not free, not being freed by me. I'm not freeing them. They are freeing me. I realized that they are freeing me from inside. We all talk, we all listen, we all read about freedom, emancipation, mukti, moksha from my childhood. But the moment I saw the tears of joy on the face of the mothers, who never dreamt that their children will ever be freed, I could see the glimpse of God on those tears of joy of those mothers. I could feel the glimpse of God on the smiling faces of those children that day. And friends, I never looked back. I don't know who has seen God. I am a strong God believer. I don't know who has experienced God, but I am, as a very ordinary person, has experienced God at least 80,000 in my life. We fought for building a worldwide movement and for a law. We organized 80,000 kilometers distance march across 103 countries in 1998 with a demand that United Nations should have an international law to stop slavery of children, prostitution of children. It was something very big challenge for an ordinary person. But I believe in the power of soul, because the soul is the part of divinity, the part of God. Every ordinary person is born with purpose of life. Sometimes we don't find that purpose, and sometimes we gradually lose that purpose. And that's why the world is facing so many problems. We organized this march, and finally in 1999, a new international law to combat the worst forms of child labor, slavery, trafficking, prostitution has been unanimously adopted by the international community, by the international governments. In India itself, I was struggling for the education of these children. We have set up 3 ashrams, rehabilitation centers. Sumedha looks after those children as mothers of thousands of those children, taking care of them, educating them. But the ashrams were not enough. Because in India, education was not a fundamental right in our constitution until 15 years ago. We organized the march from Kanyakumari to Kashmir to Delhi, 6-month-long march. Participated by millions of people, more than 100 parliament members, with one demand that we ordinary people want amendment in India's constitution to make education as fundamental right. Nobody could ignore the power of ordinary people. Nobody could ignore the voices of young children who demanded education in the constitution. And India has amended the constitution, made education as fundamental right. So dear friends, I'm not talking about the success story, I'm talking about the hope. Since 1998, when we organized the march, the number of child laborers globally has been decreased from 260 million, 26 crore, to 168 million. We can do it. The number of out-of-school children globally has been decreased from 130 million, 13 crore, to 59 million, more than half, in 15 years of time. We can do it. And it was the time when India did not have a Nobel Peace Prize. After Mother Teresa was passed away, Mother Teresa was a great woman who settled down in India, but at least India has a Nobel Peace Medal. When I met the President of India, he was so overwhelmed and emotional. He said that, Kailashji, perhaps you don't know that in our country we don't have even one single Nobel medal. Because all those chemistry, physics, literature, these people were Indians, 6 people, but they did not remain Indian. They changed their citizenship and they settled down somewhere, so the Nobel medal has gone, not the peace, but other medals have also gone there. The only medal was in India, that was Rabindranath Tagore's, Gurudev's. Unfortunately, it has been stolen many years ago. So they brought the replica, 2 replicas. One replica was taken away by the great grandnephew of Rabindranath Tagore, so even the replica was not there. So what I did, I said that, I wrote to the President that I strongly believe that this does not belong to me, that belongs to my country, my countrymen. All Indians who are living abroad, all Indians who are living in India, this belongs to them. I wrote these words. And I am going to give away this medal to my nation. Please accept it on behalf of Indians. There was no precedent. Nobody has done it before with the Peace Prize. But I am thankful to the President of India who had to make new protocols to accept something like that. And my wife, I, my children, we all went to President and offered a Nobel medal. And now it is lying in the National Museum of Presidents. I cannot even touch it. So many of my friends and relatives became very angry because they have not touched the medal. They wanted to take a picture or selfie with that. But it was not possible, even for me. But when I gave it away, I told to the President that it never belonged to me. I am not a saint. I am a very ordinary person. But I deeply believe in the value of making sacrifice, not considering, not even having a slightest feeling that you are having any sacrifice for anyone. So I said to the President in front of everyone, recited Kabir's Doha, Mera mujhme kuch nahi, jo kachu hai sab tor. There is nothing inside me which belongs to me, which is owned by me. Everything belongs to you, to all of you. And I am here because of you. I was born and grew up because of my land. So मेरा मुझ में कछु नहीं, जो कछु है सब तोर, और तेरा तुझको सौंप दे क्या लागत है मोर. I am just giving back what I have gained from India. So nothing, I'm not giving away anything because it never belonged to me. With these words, I have given the medal to the President. So dear friends, I have taken much of your time. I am confident. I repeat, I am confident and I am determined that in my lifetime, I will see the end of child slavery. I am not going to die before every single child from the remotest part of sub-Saharan Africa to India or to Latin America is enjoying fullest of her childhood in schools, in playgrounds, with their parents. We will see it. And I tell you, young friends, that your children will read somewhere in the school books, when they read about the history or sociology, they will read that there was an evil called child slavery. There was an evil called child illiteracy, because by the time these young boys and girls whom I met, most beautiful angels, they will just learn that there was an evil which the generation of our parents and grandparents have completely abolished. Now it's your turn. I call upon you to be the partner in it. It's not my own struggle. I am going to launch the human history's most ambitious campaign involving young people. And young does not mean we don't believe in the age, as I said before. So all of you are young who are sitting here. So the idea is that 100 million young people, the children, are victims of slavery, trafficking, child marriages, illiteracy today. More than 100 million globally. On the other hand, 100 million people like you. People like you. My daughters, my sons, my sisters, my brothers. You have compassion. You are born with a wealth of compassion. I am here to call upon to globalize that compassion. And I am calling upon 100 million people to be the champions and change makers and spokespersons on behalf of those 100 million left out children in the world. 100 million for 100 million. Everybody has something to do. Everybody has something to give back to the world, to the society. And I'm calling upon you to do it. How do you like the idea of 100 million for 100 million? You like the idea, that's why you're clapping. But I'm not a film star or it. who love to have fans who clap. I am one of you. So if I say that I'm launching this campaign, it means I want your hands to be raised that you are the part of it. You want to be one of those 100 millions? Yes. Say yes or no? Yes. Say yes or no? Yes. 100 million for? Yes. 100 million. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great honor to ask you. I'm from Jabalpur. You probably recognize the name of the city. Jabalpur.
जबलपुर अच्छा तो आप हिंदी में भी बोल सकते हैं मेरे से
But for the sake of the audience, I'll speak in English.
So,
I have a very quick question. Was there a single event that compelled you to leave your job and security and everything?
This was mentioned by my sister that it was the first day of my schooling. I saw a cobbler boy sitting along with his father, and I was shocked why this child was sitting and not with us in school. I asked with my teacher, and teacher has answered that, oh, sit down, keep quiet, they are poor children, they have to work and so on. That was not satisfying, so I asked to my friends and my relatives, and one day to the father of this boy, and he was surprised. He said that I never thought about it. I said that why don't you send your son to school? He said that I started work from my childhood, my father, my grandfather, everybody worked. And then he said that बाबूजी आप जानते नहीं हैं कि हम लोग तो काम करने के लिए ही पैदा हुए हैं. So you don't know that we are born to work. And it was very difficult for me to understand why some children are born to work at the cost of their life and future and liberty. I refused to accept that day, that very day. And I still refuse to accept that some children are born to work. And that was the spark. So when I grew up slowly, when I was 11 years old, I found that many children were leaving schools because their parents could not afford textbooks. So I collected old books. I hired a rickshaw, a thela, in my township in Girish, Madhya Pradesh, with the help of my friend, and I was standing upon that thela, that pull cart, chanting that, friends, your sisters, brothers, uncle, auntie, your children, your sisters, brothers have passed out and went to new classes. But what about those children who left schooling because they don't have books to study? So you might be having old used books. Please put in this cart. So within few hours, I was able to collect over 2,200 books. That time I was 11 years old. 2,000 books. And that has helped hundreds of my sisters, brothers, whom I didn't know who were they, but with the help of headmasters and teachers, these books were distributed. But that was not simply a charity. I believe in sustainability, the recurrence. So I had an idea that why can't we create a book bank so that these children can borrow books for 1 year, but they have to return with a guarantee next year so that others can use it. So the day when I was pulling that cart in my neighborhood, not close to my home, otherwise my family would be very unhappy. So I tried it out in the different side of my town. And every time when somebody put the book on my cart, I felt empowered. It was a kind of, incarnation. A new life, a new Kailash Satyarthi was being born with a self-confidence, with a connectivity, because I could feel that I didn't know those people who are bringing these books. So I can go to anywhere in the world. If I am simple, if I am clear, if I have a clear objective, if I am committed to certain things with a clear objective, then the whole world is mine. I can do it. So I started with that, and I went up to organizing the 80,000 kilometers march that has changed the shape of the world's children. So it was possible.
Let's take one more. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. It's always a privilege to hear Nobel Laureate speak once in a lifetime in person. I'm privileged to hear you twice because I was in Denver on Friday at the NASA conference. And I appreciate your challenge of the 100 million for 100 million. As an international educator, I run an international education company and we work with a consortium of...
You already raised your hand there?
I did, yes. Yes, and I did just now as well. But I'm here to personally accept your challenge, and I want to ask you how we as a company who work with a network of universities both here and schools and universities in India can mobilize our network to work with your foundation.
Thank you.
How do we do that?
Thank you. What is your name?
My name is Girish.
Girish. So Girish ji, you have to wait for a few months only. We are going to launch it properly. We are working intensely on it. We are working with some of the social media partners at the top level. We are working with the educators at the top level. We are working with companies, universities, student groups, youth organizations about it and gathering their ideas. So the campaign would be online as well as offline. In offline campaign, the children, the youth, young people and all of you will come to know about the issues and problems which are pertaining to the world. Today, 500 million children in the world, for example, are facing serious problems due to conflict. 1 billion people, 1% out of 7% people in the world are affected by conflict and half of them are children. So how young people, how all of you can react to it? The world is not spending enough money on education of children. $22 billion are needed to bring all children to school in primary, and altogether $39 billion additional money is needed annually to educate all children. And that money is nothing. $22 billion is just something like 4 days of global military expenditure.
So you can raise the voice through simple things. You can be the petitioners, you can oppose certain things going on wrong, you can appreciate certain things, you can put $1 or $2 or 10, you can do in many ways to build a value of global citizenship where you can engage yourself. But also, the young students will know about other things like bullying, like abuse, which is growing, intolerance, violence among young people, indiscipline in some parts of the world. These things they will learn and they will react to it. So we are trying to bring those two constituencies online as well as there would be offline activities. So you can easily learn through Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation, that is my new foundation. And it has a website, it has other Twitter and other social media accounts to know more about it. So please stay in touch with that. Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation. Yeah, one more. Yeah.
I think one last question from the audience.
I'm sorry, I saw that.
I would prefer my sister.
Yes,
Who is?
Yeah.
Neena ji.
Thank you very much. This is a great opportunity to talk to you directly, and we are so honored to have you here. My most important question, being on my heart, is more like teaching children. And we had started one school here about 35 years ago. It's called School of India for Languages and Culture. It wasn't children from different homes, but they were our children, and it was very necessary to teach them our language and culture. So my most important question is, out of all your efforts, how many success stories you can tell us? Those who have been saved and then they are on their way in the world to conquer the world.
Thank you. I can't recall
if you are
millions of stories,
okay,
but definitely there are millions of stories floating around us. In my own life, I have seen so many success stories of young people, young children who were liberated from slavery. In fact, a few of them were supposed to come to join this Nobel Peace Forum, Peace Prize Forum, which is going to happen in the next 3 days here. But unfortunately, they could not come because it was late in visa procedure. But these children were icons and success stories in themselves, and it could have been an opportunity to go to some schools. Because these children who were enslaved, trafficked, separated away from their parents, later on liberated and given some respect, some care, some love. And they have proven the best in their communities. Some of them became the liberators of other children. Some of them raised the voice against child marriages. So they were all success stories in themselves. So there are thousands of success stories. But we have to believe that there is always, the old saying that there is always a light in the end of tunnel. So hope is the key. Sometimes people say that the hope is the lifeline of humanity. So we have to believe in hope and live with that whatever difficulties and problems are there, but we will be able to solve them. We should not, I don't believe that we must impose much on our children. I think we have to learn from our children. When it comes to culture and values, values are more important because culture is something which is moving, which is slowly changing. But the cultural values are the essence. How to teach truthfulness, how to teach honesty, how to teach love, how to teach compassion. These are something which are already inside every child. We pollute their minds and their hearts and souls. If we are able to just touch upon that basic thing which is inside each child, we can explore it, we can harness it, we can build it upon something. And finally, I would say one thing, and then this is the last comment on my part. for today. Maybe we can see sometime in the future in India or here. I always say that we had made many mistakes in our life. Society, not just personal life, societal life. One mistake is that we keep on imposing many things on our children. We give them fake identities that you are Hindus, you are Muslims, you are Christians, you are Brahmins, you are Dalits, you are this and that, you are Americans, you are Indians, you are Pakistani. These identities have been created by us, by adult people. These boundaries and borders were created by us, by politicians, by others, people, not by the children. No child has ever created hatred. No child has ever created boundaries and walls and borders. No child has been responsible for war or poverty or anything. But why give them these identity to begin with, that you are best because you belong to this particular caste or particular religion or particular country? Let us make them human beings. Let us leave them to remain human beings. We need not to make them. They are already human beings. They are born as human beings. So this is the right time, instead of teaching basic things, literacy, mathematics, science, other things, let us learn something from our children. We can learn simplicity. We can learn forgiveness. We can learn quest for learning, further learning. We can learn so many things from our children. So instead of teaching those things, we go back today and look at the most beautiful faces of our children and our grandchildren, our sisters and brothers, and try to feel the purity which we don't have. We have lost. We should learn and inculcate the purity in ourselves from our children. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Our partners here, Vijendra Agarwalji from Vidyagyan, and IAM representatives Hasim Kuraniwala and Shika Majula.
Asmin rashtre rajanyadishavyashoro maharatho jayatanthogre dhenurvodha nadvanashus sapti puranthiriyosha jishnorathirishta sabheyo yuvasya yajamanasya viro jayatan nikame pajjanyo varshato phalimyo nakoshadaya pajjantayo gakshemo kalpata. काले वर्षद पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः सज्जनाः सन्तु निर्भयाः.
Now the HSMN, IAM and Vidyagyan honoring of Kailash Satyarthi ji. Mr. Satyarthi ji. All of us to you. Now I call upon the Temple Vice President, Sudesh Chavra ji, to do the vote of thanks.
A wonderful day for the mandir today. It's indeed a great honor and privilege to have Mr. Kailash Satyarthi amongst us today. On behalf of the Hindu Society of Minnesota, I thank you for taking the time to visit our beautiful temple and sharing your thoughts with us. You have brought great honor not only to yourself, but the entire nation, and your accomplishments are a source of inspiration and pride for all Indians all around the world. To read about and think of all of the children that you and your organization has helped is uplifting and heartwarming. I would encourage everyone here today to visit Kailash Satyarthi Children Foundation website to read about the enormous achievements by this organization and how you can help with their ongoing efforts. By your support and donations. There is a bowl set up in the back, and there are some envelopes available for you to insert any money, checks, etc. And you can leave that in the bowl. If you're making any checks, make them payable to Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation or KSCF to be brief. I also want to thank Satyarthi Children Foundation, Hindu Society of Minnesota, India Association of Minnesota, and Vidyagyan teams for making this event possible. A special thanks to Mr. Vijendra Agarwal for bringing Kailashji to our temple, and to Mrs. Vallabha Damsri for coordinating today's event. Finally, thanks to all of you for being here on this historic occasion. We are indeed grateful for all of the support that we receive from the community. And thanks again to Mr. Satyarthi for being here today.